Celia asks, the government is printing trillions of dollars, which can't help but create more inflation. Will cryptocurrencies become mainstream?
Okay, so wow, big question. Lots of moving parts to that. So the question is, we're printing a lot of money, trillions of dollars, or we're racking up trillions of dollars in debt. And she wants to know more about cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, etc. And I think there were other questions related to that as well. Here's the thing. There's kind of two parts to that. So the debt part, that will be managed over time. We want to equate it with you running personally up your credit cards, and then there will come a point in time where the bills come due and we have to look at paying them and figuring out what we pay, how much we pay, how we can generate more income to pay them, how we can maybe that's about how that works. And that's sort of how that's going to work over time. There also will come a redistribution. What we mean by a redistribution is, as we begin to look at the debt, and that really won't happen till sometime next year, maybe, because the priority will be finding control, managing, we're not going to call it control, we're going to call management of the pandemic and getting systems in place to manage that. So we're not going to go into that just yet, but that's what has to take place before we can look at dealing with the debt. And when when the U.S. government, the new administration redistributes, of course, how does that happen? Just like you personally, it means working with reallocating your own assets to pay off certain bills, hence taxes, cutting things in some place, taking that money to pay for the things that we need to pay for. And the priority, of course, with those is human beings and their needs. So government supported or subsidized income or health. And creating health, again, is another question and down the road. That's going to be rearranged as well. So that's what we say about debt. So we're just going to be straight with you. Taxes will go up for the rich percentage of the population, the more wealthier percentage of the population, the 1%, and maybe even more than the 1%, maybe the top 5%. This is still up for negotiation, and there's a lot of factors that go into that. We do see that changing, again, probably not right away. So we don't want you to worry so much about the debt. We know that there was a question about, what about our children and grandchildren? This is the wave of how America deals with its political system and financial and government systems. It goes back and forth. Taxes, more taxes, less taxes, no taxes, more taxes, more spending, less spending. It's a dance, not a very happy dance, not a very fulfilling dance, but it is the dance that people under the U.S. government and the Constitution dance. So we're going to say for you, we love that you care about the debt. Don't worry about it right now. Okay? Yeah. Now, I think there was a question about crypto and how this played into it, cryptocurrency and Bitcoin. We see that growing more over time, but not in the near term. So what that means, because that's kind of a vague answer, what that means is, again, not so much right now. Don't worry about it right now. We can't tell you what to invest in. We don't see that as something we see that as not a priority right now, okay? We see that as we're going to call it an experiment for the moment, and it needs more time to have some things worked through, some bugs fixed, yeah, just kind of working through. So here's our hesitation about it. What happens, since this is all electronic, we're just going to ask you the question, and then we'll tell you the answer. What happens when your electricity goes out? You have no access to turning on the lights, you know, heating or cooking, unless you have propane, something like that. But anything that's run on electricity, and your electricity goes out, you're you know, resorting to reading, which is not a bad thing, okay? But our way of life as we know it is so dependent on the electronic grid. This is what cryptocurrency runs on, and we're not ready to have that as something mainstream, because not just during emergencies when the grid goes down, we see that as a truly viable threat from the outside, from people who would want to shut us down in the United States. Currently, we don't see that. We just see them doing social media, intervening in social media. But it is not out of the realm of possibility. And so until there is mechanisms put into place that guarantee that the grid would never be affected, and we mean never, then we could say to you, if you wanted to diversify, it's like anything else that you diversify about. Know that it could be just a little portion. Don't make it the whole thing. In other words, you don't want to use all credit cards all the time, right? You want to pay in cash. You want to take out a loan. You want to diversify. And that's really a personal feeling. So hopefully that answers the question about cryptocurrency and Bitcoin. Its time is not yet. We do see that becoming a full-on, maybe full-on is not it, but a more larger percentage of our movement of a money in the world many years down the line. If you watch any science fiction, you see everything done with cards or theoretically with Bitcoin. Yes, it's in the future, but maybe not in the next 10 or 20 years. Could even be after that. Okay. But again, yeah, we'll see. All right.